Hello everyone and welcome to the Cyberdark Realm. Today we're going to showcase my Cyberdark deck profile. As you will see, this deck aims to blend well Cyberdark and Cyberdragon together. Before we start, a friendly reminder to like and subscribe to the channel for more videos like this. Now without further ado, let's dive right into the deck profile. We're going to start things off with a brand new monster. We're playing double copies of Cyberdark Chimera. This is an amazing main deck monster that is searchable through multiple means that you will see later in the video. The great thing about this card is that you can discard a spell or trap card, so you can search Power Bond, and then for the rest of the turn you can fusion summon with Power Bond by banishing materials from the graveyard. Moving on, for the rest of the Cyberdark monsters, we're playing a single copy of Horn and one copy of Edge. Even in this version that we aim to special summon the big boss monsters of the deck, playing kill is really not necessary. Having the piercing effect of Horn and the direct attack of Edge comes really handy, especially in the scenarios when you can't go into your big fusions. Other than that, you have enough names to go into your Cyberdark fusions without any problem. Moving on to the rest of the Cyberdark monsters, we're playing triple copies of Cyberdark Claw. This is a spell and trap searcher of the deck, and also when it's equipped to a monster and that monster battles, you can send a monster from your extra deck to the graveyard. That means you can send cards like anti-SS to disrupt your opponent. Moving on, we're also playing triple copies of Cyberdark Cannon. You can send this card from your hands to the graveyard in order to search for any Cyberdeck monster. It also has two other relevant effects. When sent to the graveyard while equipped to a monster, you can draw a card, and also during damage calculation, if a monster equipped with this card battles, you can send a monster from your deck to the graveyard. Now moving on to our Cyberdragon engine, we're playing triple copies of Cyberdragon Core. Cyberdragon Core, when it's normal summon, can search for any of your Cyberdragon and Cyberdark cards. So this card essentially bridges together the two archetypes into one. Depending on which part of the engine you have already in the hand, you can search the other part with Core. In most cases, we want our opponent to use their interruptions on Core, so we can continue with our Cyberdark plays. You can also banish it from the graveyard to special summon a Cyberdragon monster. Now we're also playing triple copies of Cyberdragon. The reason that we're playing so many copies of this card is because we're playing the machine duplication in our deck. Now if you don't like the machine duplication route, you can choose to cut the two pieces of Cyberdragon and then cut the machine duplication from the deck. But personally, I think it's a very powerful play to have available. And now for the last Cyberdragon cards, we're playing a single copy of Nachster and one copy of Herz. These are two additional Cyberdragon names in the deck, and Herz is really beneficial because we can send him with Cybernetic Horizon and then we can search the Cyberdragon Core. Now moving on to the more generic cards, we're playing a single copy of Zukiro. Keep in mind that this card is searchable through Cyber Repair Plant. You can always search with Cyberdragon Core, so we can always have a monster removal available for us. The spice of the deck is one copy of Dragon Buster Distraction Sword. All the other decks in this format are playing the Scythe in their deck, but with this deck we can send easily the Distraction Sword to the graveyard and then equip it to our boss monster. This way we can domain lock our opponent. Now moving on to the spell lineup, we're playing triple copies of Cyber Emergency. These cards are essentially extra copies of Core, but if we have an excess copy in our hand, we usually use it to send it to the graveyard to activate the effect of Chimera, so we can search Power Bond and go into our fusion plays. Moving on to the Cyberdark spells, we're playing triple copies of Cyberdark Realm. This card searches any of the Cyberdark monsters that we need, and it also grants us an additional normal summon. So usually if we have Core and no access to our Cyberdark monsters, we search for this card, and then this card can search for our Cannon, and Cannon can search for any monster that we need. And of course we're also playing the triple copies of Cybernetic Horizon. Now this card is truly amazing because it sends 3 cards for cost, one from the hand, one from the deck and one from the extra deck. We can easily meet our conditions to special summon our powerful Cyberdark monsters. And as I mentioned earlier, if we don't have access to Core, we can send with this Herz to the graveyard and then Herz can search as Core. Keep in mind that you can special summon only machine monsters the turn you activated this card. Moving on, we're playing triple copies of Machine Duplication. Keep in mind that this card is not once per turn, and if we control the Cyberdragon Core on the field, we can special summon 2 more Cyberdragons from the deck. This way we can exceed summon to Nova and then go for Infinity. If our opponent would decide to impede us early in the combo, we can continue with the Cyberdark engine as we would anyway. This way we're going to smoke screen our actual play, that's the Cyberdark engine that we have. And if we go interrupted, we're going to have an Infinity as well. We're of course also playing the single copy of Overload Fusion for some quick OTKs, the copy of Cyber Repair Plant that I mentioned earlier. If you want to reduce the deck size, you can remove this card alongside the Zukiro, and you can play some additional hand drops instead. Of course, mandatory is to play 2 copies of Power Bond. This card is essential either going first or second, and going second can enable some very cool OTKs, especially with Ramage Dragon. You can deal more than 12k damage with that card alone. And moving on to the niche one-offs, we're playing a single copy of Cyberload Fusion and one copy of Cyber Eternal. In some niche situations we might need Cyberload Fusion for some quick OTKs, while Cyber Eternal can solidify our board turn 1, since we can revive back the Cyberdarkness Dragon from the graveyard. Keep in mind that you can revive back monsters that you haven't properly special summoned. Keep in mind that these cards are flex spots. For the trap lineup, we're playing a single copy of Cybernetic Overflow and one copy of Cyberdark Invasion. Overflow can be an amazing interruption, especially if we have enough monsters in the graveyard, but keep in mind that you need Cyberdragon to trigger the effect. As for Invasion, it can be an additional interruption or a way to boost our boss monsters. Now moving on to the generic cards in the deck, we're playing double copies of Forbidden Chalice. This card is amazing going first or second and doesn't trigger triple tactics talent. And of course the last card in the main deck is triple copies of Infinite Impermanence. It's an amazing and flexible hand trap that you can use either on yours or your opponent's turn. It's of course not once per turn. Now moving on to the extra deck, we're playing a single copy of Cyberdragon Seeger. This card is essential because it can link off Core and Chimera from the field, especially under the machine lock. Also, its effect to boost the attack and defense of another monster is really powerful for some quick OTKs. We're also playing the single copy of Protector Whelp in order to send the Destruction Sword to the graveyard. This way we can equip it later with our boss monsters. Keep in mind that you want to go into this card early before you're machine locked. This is a play your opponent might not expect. Moving on, we're playing the single copy of Predaplan, Vertia and Akoda. We want to have access to this card because in some scenarios going second we cannot decay using Overload Fusion. Other than that, moving forward, if we lose this card in the next ban list, it won't be a serious problem for the deck. As for the Cyberdark portion of the deck, we're playing one copy of Cyberdark Dragon and one copy of Cyberdarkness Dragon. Cyberdarkness Dragon is usually the card we will summon turn 1 and equip it with Cybernetic that we have already in the graveyard. And of course, the boss monster of the deck is 2 copies of Cyberdark End Dragon. With a mediocre hand, we can consistently make this card turn 1, and many decks can deal with the fact that it's 5000 attack and is unaffected by card effects. For example, this card can be an FTK, especially against the Sorcerer deck, and we play 2 because we can make the second one in the grind game. We're also playing the single copy of Cyber End Dragon. In some scenarios going second, we can make this with Power Bond and OTK our opponent with ease. The last fusion cards that we play in the extra deck is one copy of Megafleet and one copy of Rampage Dragon. If you find the space, you can play another copy of Megafleet or Fortress Dragon. Other than that, these cards are essential and helps you break boards going second and OTK your opponent. Especially Rampage that can deal with back row and attack your opponent 3 times. We're of course playing a single copy of Elder Entity and TSS. You can usually send this card with Claw if it's equipped to a monster, or use it as a response to a Maximus effect. The grind game an additional copy might be handy, but you might have to cut other cards to do so. Now moving on to the Exist lineup, we're playing a single copy of Cyberdragon Nova and one copy of Cyberdragon Infinity. Since we're playing the Machine Duplication package, these cards are essential, but if we decide not to play them at all, we can fill the extra deck with other utility cards. But in my opinion, this is an insurance policy to see your combos go through. Having a Omni-Kit makes your combos much stronger. We're also playing a single copy of Constellar Pleiades. In some scenarios, you might just need to return back a card to your opponent's hand, and Pleiades fills that role perfectly. Also, if you want an additional negate, you can play a copy of Chronombly Vimana instead. And the last card that we have in the extra deck is one copy of Divine Arsenal AA Zeus. Since we're playing Exist in the extra deck, we can easily make Zeus and wipe our opponent's entire field. If we manage to attack with Infinity, we can easily make a 4 material Zeus and wipe the field after that. That essentially wraps up today's deck profile. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel for more videos like this. Also, if you want me to make a follow-up video testing the deck online or make a combo tutorial, let me know in the comments down below. And if you want to support the channel directly, don't forget to check the links in the description below. Until next time, stay safe, and I will see you all in the Shadow Realm.